All right, good morning, everybody. Nai Masechta, Nai Perek, Nai Mishnah. So we left off the top of Ksubis, Beis and Aleph. I was like, you only have on 30, was it 37 times a year you can make that joke or a cycle. All right. Left off. First word, top line. Last word, top line. Only word, top line. Ksubis. So it says over there at the top. Basula Nises L'Yayim Haravi.
Where we go?
You missed it.
No, you didn't say it.
So, all right. So, Basula Nises, a Basula, a woman, a virgin, a woman who has not been with another man, gets married. L'Yayim Haravi on Wednesday. On Wednesday, on day, a specific day of the week. The Almana L'Yayim Chamishi, and an Almana, a widow, basically a woman who has been married previously. She gets married on a Thursday. All right, she gets married on a Thursday. Is it takana? Shepamim b'Shabbos, batei dinim shepamayim b'Shabbos. Excuse me, shepamayim b'Shabbos, batei dinim yeshim ba'eros b'yom hasheni v'yom hachamishi. That Beis Din used to sit in the towns on Monday, on Thursday, and they would have cases in those days. The courts would be open. So why is that? Shim hayilo tanis b'sulim hayamash in the Beis Din. So if now they got married on Wednesday, and the Bia Rishona would occur Wednesday evening. If he had a claim of Tainus Basulam, he would make a claim that, behold, she was supposed to be a Basula and she's not a Basula. And perhaps she is usher to her husband, because if she was Mizana, let's say they had the Kedushin, right, a year earlier or whenever it was earlier, and she was Mizana Tachta, and she had relations with somebody else, not forced, right, during that period of time, she would actually be usher to her husband. So, or if he has a claim, a monetary claim that she's not Sula, well, that's in the Gemara. But anyway, he has a claim, so he can go to court the next morning. We want him to go to the court next morning because if he waits to go to court, perhaps she'll go ahead and convince him not to go to court, and then the matter will be dropped. So therefore, get married on a Wednesday. Wednesday evening would be the Bia Rishona. If there was some sort of claims, then he would go to Beis Din the next morning, Thursday morning. Right? Then he would go the next morning, early in the morning, to go to the Beis Din. Fine. So that was the Mishnah. All right. We'll soon see why not Sunday. Sunday's before Monday, right? So why not Sunday? If you sit on Monday and Thursday, so the Sunday is the same as Wednesday. So let's see. Zak Gemara. What is the reason that we say that a basula gets married on Yom Ravi, on Wednesday? Because we learned if it becomes time and she is not married. Now, if it comes time, in other words, they had a set schedule for the the Erison. Okay, I'm going to marry you within 12 months. And comes in 12 months, and he does not go ahead and marry her. He keeps pushing it off. So what's the halacha? So she's already acquired by him, and she's like, stuck. She's basically his wife, but she's not nisu. So we say, you know what? You got to support her now. That's it. He set the time, and he didn't go ahead, and he didn't take her in marriage. So she eats. She gets his credit card and starts eating it. And not only that, even if she was a Bas Yisrael and he was a Kohen, she can begin eating truma, b'truma. Let's say the time. Let's say they said it. On the contract. 12 months from now. 12 months from now comes on a Sunday. Now, okay, now it's Sunday. 12 months. Got to go ahead and give me the credit card. So therefore, we say no. That only since the Chachamim say don't get married on Sunday, you got to get married on Wednesday. Therefore, he gets basically 3 free days that he doesn't have to go ahead and support her for those days. So now the Gemara is puzzled. So we just said, what's the reason why Basula Nises? And we answered, because why should she get married on Wednesday? Because if he doesn't go ahead and feed her, he's supposed to go ahead and marry her on a Sunday. So therefore, after 12 months, if that time arrives, he waits 3 days until Wednesday.
What's the promised Sunday?
We didn't say Sunday. We didn't say why not Sunday. But over here was just if he said a time, I'm going to marry you in 12 months from now. That 12 months happens to be a Sunday, or let's say it was a Monday, right? A little less confusing, right? Because we said, right? So it comes out earlier in the week. So you got to wait. His time, he's only obligated for the first Wednesday when they're supposed to. So the Gemara says, Rav Yosef, Mari Davram, my goodness, right? So even this is puzzling. Tali Tanya, but delay Tanya, right? So you just, right, gave the reason for something which was taught in a Mishnah, for something which wasn't taught in the Mishnah, right? Which was the Mishnah we just brought. That which we just said, Higiyazman, that's a Mishnah later on. So where says, what? Hi Tanya, V'hai Lo Tanya. Ha Tanya, V'hai Tanya. What are you talking about? One's the Mishnah, one's not Mishnah. They're both Mishnayos. So you meant to say, Ella, rather, what was Rav Yosef's problem? Tali Tanya, the Mefarish Tama, but Tanya, the Mefarish Tama. You asked the question, why do you get married on Wednesday? And then you brought another Mishnah that doesn't explain why you get married on Wednesday. And our Mishnah itself explains why you get married on Wednesday. Right? Very bizarre. At the time of the Mefarish Tama, right? You tried to explain something which had its reason in it from a Mishnah or from a Mishnah that didn't explain what the reason was. Rather, this is what the Rav Yosef and Rav Yehuda Shmuel said. What is the reason why we say a basula is married on a Wednesday? If he had a Tainus basula and he had a claim that she's not a basula, then he can go to the base the next morning. So let her go ahead and get married on Sunday, and therefore the Birishon on Sunday night, and there's an issue, come to the court Monday morning. So here's the answer. Shaktu chachamim al takanos b'nei Yisrael. The chachamim were makpid, right? They were makpid, and for the daughters of Israel, they wanted the men to prepare the meal for 3 days. In other words, they have a feast in honor of the wedding, right? They didn't have refrigeration then, right? They couldn't do it before Shabbos. So therefore, Echa b'Shabbos, Sheni b'Shabbos, Shni b'Shabbos. They want you to have a nice festive meal in honor of her becoming a married woman. So therefore, prepare 3 days, at least 3 days for your meal. Therefore, you got to prepare on Monday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now, go ahead and get married on Wednesday. Ravi, and then Ravi, then he goes ahead and marries her. And now how does this relate to that Mishnah later on? Now that which we learned that we're makpid, you got to wait 3 days. That which we learn over there, so let's say he said, okay, I'm going to go ahead at the Erisin. They say, okay, the soon is going to be 12 months from today, right? Count it 360 days from now or whatever it is, right? And he doesn't go ahead and take her in marriage, right? So she once 12 months comes up and he doesn't go ahead, she can get his credit card and start paying for her food, and she can eat truma. However, if time that 12 months comes up, let's say it's on a Sunday. Now, we just said that you don't get married on Sunday. Why? Because we want you to prepare 3 days. Mm-hmm. So now, if that 12 months comes up on a Sunday, since he can't go ahead and marry her yet, he is not obligated to go ahead and give her mazonos in this situation. Therefore, fine. So therefore, that answers the question. Now we explain the reason over there. What's the reason why over there that it's the first Wednesday following the time period where he said he was going to go ahead and marry her is because that even if he says, okay, I'll marry you today, but you can't marry her on a Sunday because we want you to prepare for the meal. So therefore, since he can't go ahead and marry her today, it's basically like an inus, right? It's basically like something that he couldn't control, and therefore he would say that he got to wait on Wednesday. You got to start going ahead and paying for her food. Now, lefichach, therefore, chalahu al shachal sahi o shaper sanida. Therefore, if the time comes, okay, 12 months, and he's procrastinating. Finally, at the 12-month date, he says, okay, let's get married. And let's say he's sick, or she's sick, or she becomes a nida, and they can't get married because they have to get a birashena. Eino malo mazonos. He's not obligated to give her mazonos, right? And why is this lefichach? In other words, since we said before, since he can't marry on a Sunday, so he's not obligated to go ahead and pay for her food yet. So with that svara, since he can't get married today, because let's say he's sick or she's sick, it's even if it's a Wednesday or she's a nida, so therefore he doesn't have to pay for her einam ala mazonos. Now, and however, there are others who didn't say lefichach. There are others who actually said it's a question. So they ask a question. So let's say Wednesday comes around and that was a 12-month date. So now it's Wednesday. It's time to go ahead and get married. He procrastinated until the very last day. And he's sick. He can't get out of bed. Mahu. Over there, the reason why we say if it's Sunday, you don't have to go ahead and start paying for food until Wednesday is because it's not his fault that you need 3 days. So to over here in this case, right, where he's sick, it's also an inus. It's also an accident, something that not in his control. Or you say that, or perhaps hasam anis over there was a takana rabbanan. So takana rabbanan that we call as inus. However, hacha low, but over here it's not takana rabbanan. He's just not feeling well, so maybe he should have to go ahead and pay for food. And if you say no, sorry. Tough luck that you were the one who got sick. It's basically it's on you that you were sick, and therefore you got to start paying for her food. So what about chal sehi? What about if she becomes sick? All of a sudden it's Wednesday, she's sick, she can't get out of bed, she has COVID. So what happens? So he said, so she can say, okay, well, start sending me food, right? What do you mean you're sick? So what's the luck in that case? Matzi amarla anaha kamina. Can he say, hey, I'm here, I'm under the chuppah, I'm waiting for you. You didn't come. That's not on me. I'm not paying for your food. You didn't come here. That's on you. Oh, Dilma. Dilma. Here's another one. Or she can say to him, your field has overflowed. In other words, tough luck, right? The rains come in. There's too much rain. The fields get flooded, right? So maybe that's tough luck. And she can say to him, hey, I'm sick, but tough luck. You got to start paying up. And if you can say that she's allowed to go ahead and make that claim of, hey, by the way, tough luck on you, we still got to pay me. What about Pierce and Nida? What if she becomes a Nida? Also, he can't go ahead and marry her because she's a Nida. So, Mahu, what is the halacha there? So, if it's during her calculated time, right, where it was expected, that for sure, that for sure, right? If she set the date, okay, we're going to go ahead and marry on this date, and she knew in her mind that she was going to become a nida, right? And therefore, she says, "Oh, I'm a nida. You got to start. Got to give me food for a free week, and I don't have to do anything for you, right?" That that he can't say to her, or she can't. She can't say to him, that your field is flooded, right? Because that's on her. Because the question by the person Nida is what it says. Right? When it's not during a normal time. So what's the case there? Since it's not during a normal time and she spotted or she bled, she can say to him, hey, tough luck on you. Right, tough noogies. Or perhaps or maybe since there's women who could change the shazvesta, therefore since she didn't change it to an appropriate time or move it around, and therefore she basically didn't plan well, then maybe it's like she planned it and therefore it's on her. So Pashir Ravacha, so therefore Ravacha answered, Higiyazman v'loy nisu, if it comes time to get married, and she is not taken in marriage. She eats from him, and she has truma, and says lo nas. So lo nasu lo kitani. It doesn't say lo nasu referring to him. It says her lo nisu. Why does it say lo nisu? Ella lo nisu. It only says lo nisu. So heichi, then what's the case? It's on her. If she just says, hey, I don't want to get married, but send me my credit card and my money. So then obviously, why would she go ahead and eat from him? She says, I'm not ready to get married. I'll wait another couple weeks, but meanwhile, I want you to pay for my food and let me eat truma. No, of course you don't do it. It's not that she was stopping him, right? Ella lav, these, right? Rather, there was such an onus, like in these cases, like when someone was sick. Or when she was in the Idak, and nevertheless it says, and nevertheless it says that she can eat from him and eat Shuma. So you see over here that even if it's an Inus, that he still has to go ahead and pay for it. And Amar Rav Ashi really, if it's ein oinus, he doesn't eat. To come akve inu, right? If it's a case of where an oinus, right, she wouldn't eat. To come akve inu when he would within who the boy lay lemisti. So in other words, even if it was on him when he was one stopping, within who the boy lay lemisti loy nasu, and really it could have said loy nasu that he didn't marry her, right? Not just that, even if it was on him, not her. So why did it say on her? So it's not a proof. I do not a reisha bedidi. Since in the reisha it's referring to her, it says Naistin lebesula. We give her 12 months, right? So Tananami Seifa bedidi. So the Seifa says if we give her 12 months if she wasn't married. So that's why it talks to her, but it wasn't necessarily talking about her onus. Maybe it was even talking about on him, and that was the case there. Fine. That was what it has to do with marrying her for 12 months. So 2 dots. Omar Rava, now the real sugyas begin. Omar Rava ula inyan gittin einochen. Now, we just said if there is an onus, okay, he was supposed to marry her on a certain day, and an onus happened. Mm-hmm. So you got to go ahead and start paying up. In other words, we take into account an onus. If it was an accident, it's not his fault, and therefore, or it's not her fault. So therefore, he has to go ahead and stop paying. However, when it comes to an onus by gittin, it's not like that. Let's see. Let's just see Rashi for 1 second. All right. So just as the last long or whatever, the 4 lines on top in Rashi. Just do one Rashi for a second. So it says, right? It's going on the case we said lefichach, right? Lefichach was, we said, therefore, if it comes out on Sunday, right? So since you can't marry her on a Sunday, you get 3 free days. In other words, it's not your fault. And therefore, since it's not your fault, you don't have to start paying up until Wednesday, right? So we see that the fact there was an einus, it was an accident, he's parted from his onus. However, in Gittin, ain't tinus einus moelis. The claim of it was an accident, it wasn't my fault, does not work. What's the case? If he gives a get to his wife and he says, hey, get, he says, okay, you know what? I'm so positive. Let me just go to Vegas for the weekend. She says, you're not going to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas. All right. No, if I'm not here back by Monday morning, 9 a.m., right? This will be your get. You can divorce me, right? That's how positive I am. Back. The nenas and an onus occurred. Wasn't his fault. Flights were canceled. They couldn't get pilots, right? V'loiba harei get. Actually, we'll soon see. Maybe that's not. We'll see. Past Mavra. We'll see. V'loi harei get. Ve'ein yachol emar onus hayis. Even though it was an accident, right? Something beyond his control occurred. Nevertheless, that's not a claim, and he's divorced because he did not fulfill the condition. So when it comes to marriage, we said, okay, then onus we take into account. However, when it comes to gittin, then it doesn't come into account. So I'm a rabba, lina gittin enuchem. Alma ksava rabba ain't onus begittin. There is no onus. There is no claim of onus. It was an accident by gittin. If it didn't occur, you set a condition. Your fault, not your fault, whatever it was. Too bad. So manale the rabba. So where does Rabba know this from? So if we know that, which you learn in the Mishnah, he says to her, "Harei zeki taking lo basi mikan this is your get if I don't return now until 12 months. And he dies in 12 months. Ain't no get. It's not a get. It's not a get. And as you might be able to say that it's a get from before, and therefore, right? So maybe she's divorced, or you could even possibly say, well, since there's another case, even possibly say that once he dies, maybe she's married at that moment, because now we see the condition will never be fulfilled. So even if he died 7 months into it, maybe it's 7 months. Now we see that you're never going to return in 12 months. So therefore, it's a get now. So we say, ain't no get. So it says, may sudeino get. So we learn from there, maybe only if he dies in those 12 months, not a get. Hachala. But if he was sick, harei a get. It is a get. So what do you see over there? That if he got sick, he couldn't come. He was bedridden with COVID, whatever it was. He couldn't return. So we say, too bad, right? Harei a get, right? Doesn't make a difference. No excuses. So Gemara says, no. Maybe we can say, no, even if he was sick also, it's not a get, right? And now as we do take onus into account, and maybe over there it's teaching us the halacha, the once the guy dies, then you can't give a get. You can't say no get lemafreya. It goes retroactively. There's no get. So Gemara says but the get is not valid after the husband dies. But that we learn in the Reisha. It says there, Hare zegitech imesi. This is your get. If I die, Hare zegitech mecholi, right? Or this is your get. If right, if I die from this disease, or Hare zegitech lachamisa, or if this is your get for the moment I die, right? You'll get from before. Lo amar klum. Any of these conditions, any way he stated, none of these work, right? So the Gemara says, no, maybe over there, right? Maybe over there, right? So in other words, say that which we said over here, that in case of the first case, right? From the Seifa, we stated the Seifa first. That was our first case. Then we just brought the Reisha. So he says, no, maybe it's Dimal Afukim Rabbeinu. Maybe it's coming to exclude the Rabbanan, the Tanya. Who these Rabbanan? The Tanya, the Rabbeinu. He clearly not say, right? The Rabbanan did permit to go ahead and they did matzah head and to go ahead and get married. In other words, even though it goes back to Amrina, and we say we're going to explain this in a second. Man Rabbeinu, who is the Rabbanan? Who is this Rabbeinu? That was the basins that permitted this certain oils. So that was what it was. And what do they say? And they saber lak Rabbi Yossi, the halik Rabbi Yossi, the Amar Zmano shashtar mochiachalov. They learned that they date on the get. So even though he died afterwards, but since the date of the get was written when the condition was made, so they held that actually the get goes back to that time, since the shtar zman mochiachalov, right? It was, and he died 7 months later. But here, here's the date of the get. So therefore, we can say that she was divorced 7 months before his death. The Ella, rather we say may safer. Rather we learn, in other words, maybe over the cases. So now the question is, so where does Rava know this halacha that when it comes to get, there is no taina of onus? So Ella may safer. Mi'achshav, it says the word mi'achshav, from now, retroactively, key word. If I don't return here in 12 months, then retroactively you'll be divorced, right? If he makes that, that now in 2022, if I don't come back by 2023, then you'll be divorced from today's date in 2022, July 8th, right? And he dies within 12 months. Get. It's a get. So mace. So what do you see over there? It's a get. So mace. It says if he dies in 12 months, which is an inus, he didn't plan on dying, or right, maybe even if he got sick, right? So you see, in those cases, right, we say that is a get. It's a valid get. It wasn't his fault. It was an accident. Maybe she shouldn't have been divorced. She should have been widowed instead, right? So it says, so it's an onus. So we say within the chos. So any type of onus, we said too bad. The Dilma Meis Davka, maybe no over there. Maybe it's not teaching about onus. Maybe only in case if he died, Meis Davka, because he hates his brother. He doesn't even want to think about it even when he's dead, right? That his brother should marry his wife. So therefore, Davka in the case of when he dies, that's when it's going to get. But maybe if he gets sick, so an onus is, it would not be valid. Maybe because an onus is an excuse. So Ella. Meha. So rather, going back, where does Rav know the case when it comes to gittin that you can't make a claim of oines? A person says to his wife, if I don't return now within 30 days, lehavi gita, this will be your get. So also besides Yamin, all of a sudden, he's planned last minute. He's coming back 30 days, he's almost home. Well, Pascham Avra, and then the bridge breaks, right? The bridge breaks, and all he has to do is cross the bridge, but they got an issue. He has to be there within an hour, that's the date, and the bridge is out. Samar Lahu, and she sees him across the river. You got to be here, son. You got to, you said you're coming back, and if you don't come back within the next hour, then you're done. It's a get. And he says, Chazid Yossi, I'm right here, right? I'm just the bridge is out, but I'm here. Amar Shmuel, Lav Shemei Masya. It's not considered like he's there. Too bad, right? The bridge is out, too bad. So what do you see over there? There is no onus by Gittin. We don't care. Excuse, good excuse, bad excuse, it doesn't make a difference. There was a condition, the condition wasn't fulfilled, no good. That's what Rava says. When it comes to Gittin, Eino Chein, right? There is no claim of, oh, it wasn't my fault. The Dilma says, no, maybe that case is different. Maybe something which is foreseeable, right? That was why the example why you say, no, there's no pilots, to fly back. It's sort of foreseeable, right? It's not dependable travel these days, right? So over there, the river used to flood during these months. The bridge often was out. So they can't claim it was an accident because it was foreseeable. But the one said, so the cave in the boy, he should have made a condition. Oh, I'm going to be here in 30 days, but if the bridge is out, give me an extra 15 days, right? He didn't do it. Therefore, in that case, that's not an onus, right? You can't bring a proof in there, Rava. That's not an onus, right? He lost out himself. He lost out on himself. He caused himself to do it. So rather, Rava said by Gittin, it's a svara. It's a logical argument. Why? It's his own svara. Mishum tznuas, mishum prutzas. Because of women who are tznuas, who are too tznuah, too from, and women who are prutzas, who are not too from, right? Mishum tznuas. What's the svara? Mishum tznuas. Let's say there was a condition. The guy says, I'm going to go back in 30 days. And if you would think to say that if an onus happened, right, that we take it into account. In other words, okay, he tried to fulfill the condition, but it was something he was held captive, whatever it was, for no reason. So therefore, it wasn't his fault. Maybe the condition is not fulfilled. So what would happen with its tznuos? If you would say it was not a get, zivnim. Perhaps there was an inus, right? In other words, the guy just didn't come back for 30 days. Vesabra, and she says, oh, he's probably being held captive somewhere, and it's not his fault, and therefore it's not a get, right? No, it's because and she'll say, oh, it must have been an inus, right? So therefore, in that case, and over there, she'll go ahead and be in a Aguda for the rest of her life, right? She'll say, oh, no, I was never divorced because he didn't come back, but perhaps he was killed out there. She says, oh, I'm waiting. It was an inus, so therefore, I'm not married. Mishum prutzos. So and what's the reason it does prutzos? If you'd say, hey, it's not a get. Zivnan the inus. Perhaps it indeed was an inus, right? He was something happened. It was completely not his fault. The Amra. And she says, no, lo honest, right? There wasn't an accident. He did it on purpose. Therefore, it's a get. The Yazla, and she'll go off, and she'll marry somebody else, and she'll have kids, but it's a get. Batal, and it turns out that the get was no good, and she says, oh, it was a get. But mamzer, then her children will be mamzerim. So therefore, because of the prutzos and because of the tznuos, therefore Rava says, you know what? We're not going to look into the matter. The condition was filled, it works. If it wasn't fulfilled, then it doesn't work, and we don't take any onus or access. There's no excuses when it comes to Gittin. All right, we'll stop here. Shkach, everybody. Sunday. We'll go 6:40. 6:40 has been working so far. 6:40 sharp. Shkach.